Wayne, you heard those hearings today. Stunning, revealing, dramatic, troubling. Your reaction to what you heard on the floor of Congress today?
Well, I think what you saw was more of what a Department of Justice cover-up looks like under the Obama administration. I mean, what they have still given Congress, despite all their subpoenas, is pages and pages of black lines, redacted material. Now, you have to assume that the White House gave the okay to the Department of Justice to undertake this cover-up. The suspicion is, underneath all those black lines, is proof that the largest gun-running operation in history into the hands of the Mexican drug cartels has been conducted by the Obama administration's Justice Department.
Yeah, and Congressman Issa made that very clear today, reading off memos talking about who knew what. And when he would ask Ronald White from the Department of Justice, the Assistant Attorney General, what can you tell us? I mean, they sent him up there to testify. He couldn't tell him anything. He didn't. He says, "Oh well, I'm not able to answer that. I'm not qualified to answer it. That's not what my job is." They say they want to cooperate, and all they keep doing is exactly what Grassley and Issa have been saying, and that is stonewalling every step of the way.
Yeah, the American public needs to know the whole truth on this. I mean, the fact is, that brings us to the consequences. These guns are now, as a result of what they did, in the hands of evil people. And evil people are committing murders and crimes with these guns against innocent citizens. Even more indefensible, Ginny, is the fact that they let honest gun dealers in the U.S. take the rap in the Washington Post and some of these big papers, smearing these gun dealers, saying they were unscrupulous, saying that they were running guns into the hands of the cartels, when the Obama administration's Justice Department knew the truth. And they let the Washington Post smear these honest gun dealers like Bill Carter down in Houston.
Yep, and you had those agents today saying that very same thing. They talk about how the gun dealers cooperated, and they talk about how they would be in the middle of a surveillance, and they'd have to be called off. Stop it, no more. And they made very clear. They called it everything from idiotic to outrageous, what they were being asked to do, and they repeated every single one of them over and over again. We complained. We went to our supervisors. They told us you didn't have a right to complain. Just do what we're asking you to do.
We need to know, we the American public need to know who ordered this, when did they know about it, how high does it go? Because what's happening right now is the White House is trying to cover the whole thing up. Eric Holder's Department of Justice is trying to cover the whole thing up and spin it. And there's an internal war going on ATF on this whole subject. And the American public deserves to know the truth. Every media outlet in this country should be putting a camera in President Obama's face and saying, will you order your Attorney General to comply with congressional subpoenas so the American public knows the truth about this rotten, fast and furious gun-running operation your department and your administration ran into the hands of the Mexican drug cartels,
yes,
while you were laying the blame on the Second Amendment freedoms of law-abiding citizens in the United States of America.
And you had the family of Border Patrol Agent Brian Terry, who was murdered, and 2 of the guns found at the scene traced to this whole operation, sitting there. And that's all they're asking for, is we want to know his death wasn't in vain. We want to get to the truth. Can you imagine how that family must feel sitting there watching that and just, and obviously hearing that the very people Brian Terry worked for didn't have the commitment and the pride that he did for his job.
You know the sad thing about that? When this was first put in front of the Department of Justice, what they had done, what they mumbled was, well, in order to make an omelet, you got to break a few eggs. Well, one of those eggs apparently has turned out to be Agent Brian Terry. I mean, broken eggs and dead innocent people, that can't be a metaphor that we let stand. I mean, does anyone in this country think it's okay what they did? They crossed the line, and they need to be held accountable by the American public.
Absolutely, and it was an eye-opener to listen and see what went on there today.
Meanwhile, politically, the Hillary Clinton and still President Obama and his Attorney General Eric Holder and Dianne Feinstein are still trying to blame the Second Amendment, lock,
Absolutely.
stock, and barrel for the actions of these Mexican drug cartels.
Absolutely. Yep. And you've got them out there just, look at the report they just released. And they don't even mention Fast and Furious. They talk about an ATF report that shows that, I forget what the percentage was. I think it was 70% of the guns are now coming from the U.S. They don't even mention the ATF operation that was providing those guns. And you had some members on that panel today, of members of Congress today, talking about how trying to get the agents to talk about reporting multiple sales of long guns. They were trying to turn this hearing into something for their own agenda.
Yeah, I mean, they're trying to divert the attention away from this scandal, and we can't let them do it because the story is this scandal.
Absolutely.
And we need to get to the bottom of it. The American public needs to know the truth, and people need to be held accountable.
Alrighty, thanks so much, Wayne. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Jenny. I promise you we're going to keep the pressure on.